Hello everyone, and welcome to my channel. Lately on this channel I've been reviewing a lot of horror movies and cult classics and just a bunch of different kinds of movies that I really like. But there was actually a time when most videos on my channel were reviews of animated movies or TV shows. Right next to horror films and cult classics, I'm also very fond of cartoons and animation. So I thought that I'd just do a new video and kind of take the opportunity to start reviewing a few more cartoons again. Does that mean my next couple of videos will be reviews for cartoons? Probably not, but it's pretty safe to assume that at least at some point in the future I'll do another video on a cartoon. A good place to start with this whole thing again is probably with Scooby-Doo. Like pretty much every kid, I grew up watching Scooby-Doo. It followed a very basic formula, but it worked very well and managed to keep the viewers coming back for more. Even if I was not aware of it, I think I can safely say that Scooby-Doo probably had some influence on me as a horror movie fan. As far as the original show, Scooby-Doo, Where Are You?, part of what sticks with me now that I really wasn't aware of when I was a kid, but looking back at it, I can see how much I love it, was the hand-painted backgrounds in the show. But the more I think about it, I actually think those backgrounds kind of had to do with why I enjoyed the show so much, because just look at them. They're so beautiful and they have such a great horror aesthetic to them. I love those. Also, Scooby-Doo had unique Monster of the Week designs, like each episode there'd be a brand new monster, and all the designs for the monsters, for the most part, were pretty cool. And as we all know, Scooby-Doo became a huge phenomenon somehow and led into a bunch of different incarnations of both TV shows and movies. Maybe I don't understand everything that's come out of the show. I mean, we got Scooby-Doo meets WWE, Scooby-Doo meets Kiss, Lego Scooby-Doo, Scooby-Doo with puppets. But at this point, I just kind of accept it. I mean, Scooby-Doo can do whatever it wants to do. If you want to know my thoughts on the live-action Scooby-Doo movies, which a lot of people seem to hate on, I am fully aware that those are bad movies. But maybe it's because I grew up with them, but I still really enjoy them nonetheless. I remember a few years back, I had a channel where I did a review for both of those movies in nostalgia critic style, and I pretended to be really mad at them. And now I just kind of think back to those videos and wonder what was actually wrong with them? Or better question, what was wrong with me? So since then, that channel no longer exists and I'd like to forget about it, but I think I've learned from my mistakes and I've kind of improved my videos since then. I hope I've improved my videos since then. But at this point, I kind of realized that any video I made from my past, I'm gonna look back on and be embarrassed by. So at this point, might as well just make any video I want. Well, I've rambled long enough. What I am actually here to do, as you can probably tell from this video's title, is to review the 1985 cartoon series, The 13 Ghosts of Scooby-Doo. This is a show that lasted for one season and aired on ABC. The show follows the adventures of Shaggy, Scooby, Daphne, Scrappy, and Flim Flam as they are sent out by the warlock Vincent Van Ghoul to retrieve 13 ghosts that Shaggy and Scooby accidentally let loose from a chest of demons. Now, you might be thinking that a combination of those characters is kind of a strange choice, but the characters of Scooby, Shaggy, Daphne, and Scrappy were actually all characters used in a previous incarnation of Scooby-Doo, titled The New Scooby and Scrappy-Doo Show, and that was a show where they were just trying to bring back the old mystery formula that they originally had. But 13 Ghosts was something different, as it was the first of any Scooby-Doo series to introduce the idea of real ghosts. In other words, Ghostbusters was popular at the time, so they decided to make a show about ghost hunting. There's even a scene in this show where a character sucks up some ghosts with a vacuum, and since then that seems to be used as a reference to Ghostbusters, even though they never do that in the movie. Also, Daphne's design was changed. They gave her a jumpsuit and changed her hair to make her look more like an April O'Neil type. And what can I say? Kids of the 80s, they loved their jumpsuits. But the real question remains, is this show any good? No. Not really. So, back in the 80s, Scooby-Doo was kind of trying everything it could to stay afloat, though the show does add the new idea of introducing continuity to the Scooby-Doo series. It still uses like a very formulaic kind of plot to each episode, and you can kind of tell that like the whole real ghost thing was a last resort for the series. But one of the show's biggest problems is definitely the animation itself. There are a lot of errors in that department, though it did seem to get a bit better in later episodes, or maybe I just got used to it. The first time you see animation errors in the first episode, it's like very jarring. The original show's animation was without a doubt no masterpiece, but maybe in comparison to this it was. But I can't really complain too much because when it comes to animation, we don't really know the full story of like what goes on behind the scenes most of the time. But I'm gonna make a guess that they didn't have a lot of time to animate each episode. If you can just get past the poor animation, then it's probably still not that great a show, but there is still some really good stuff about it. I mean, just look at the show's name, The 13 Ghosts of Scooby-Doo. That obviously is a reference to the William Castle film from 1960, 13 Ghosts. There's actually a lot of things in this show that shows like a true love of horror from whoever was making it. Probably the best like tribute to horror in this whole show is the character of Vincent Van Ghoul, played by none other than Vincent Price himself. Now, anyone who knows horror knows Vincent Price. He is one of the most famed horror actors of all time, and he has been in dozens of different horror films. The fact that the show was able to actually get Vincent Price to play a character that looks just like him and has like a vast knowledge of the paranormal is amazing. Actually, since the show aired, like Scooby-Doo has seemed to have a weird fascination with Vincent Price, and this is just something that I've noticed that's kind of like throughout all the different series, they always come back to referencing him in some way. They actually bring back the character of Vincent Van Ghoul in the TV show Mystery Incorporated. Even that one series that nobody liked, Shaggy and Scooby-Doo Get a Clue, you know the one. But there's a villain in that show by the name of Dr. Phineas Phibes, which I would like to think is a reference to The Abominable Dr. Phibes, which is a very good horror movie starring Vincent Price. And if you have not seen it yet and you like horror movies, definitely check that one out. But Vincent Price actually manages to be the very best thing about the show. Everything he says is just comedic gold. And a lot of that either comes from knowing who Vincent Price is beforehand, or just kind of the way he delivers his lines in that kind of like monotone, serious manner. If you are a big fan of his, seeing him as a cartoon character is enough to warrant a watch. But with every great character in a cartoon, there has to be one that sucks. I mean, why wouldn't there be? If you think I am talking about Scrappy-Doo, then you are dead wrong, and I actually don't really mind Scrappy-Doo. But what I am talking about is the character of Flim Flam. Every time Flim Flam is on screen, I want to tear out my eardrums and gouge my eyes out of their sockets. Flim Flam is a street kid who also happens to be a con artist who joins the gang in their journey to capture all 13 ghosts. But what makes him so annoying is a combination of two things. One, he has a really annoying voice, and two, every single joke he tells falls flat. He really adds absolutely nothing but annoyance to the show. Now, if you are one of 3 kids who grew up watching 13 Ghosts of Scooby-Doo, then I can actually understand why you would like the character. I think it's safe to say that anyone who grew up with the show kind of connects more with the characters or kind of less annoyed by certain things, but as someone who's watching this at the age of 19, I just can't help but hate him. Now, back to the topic of Scrappy-Doo. This would actually be the last TV show in the series to star his character. He actually still appeared in a few like straight-to-video Scooby-Doo movies from the 80s, but after that we would not see him again until the live-action movie, and we all know how that turned out. Now, I do understand why people do not like Scrappy, and I blame it mostly on his original airing, which was on the Scooby and Scrappy-Doo show, and that was the show where like Shaggy and Scooby would always have to go save him, and he was pretty much useless. But I kind of grew up more with those like 80s Scooby-Doo movies I was talking about, like Boo's Brothers, or The Reluctant Werewolf, or The Ghoul School. And I always remembered him being a more helpful character in all of those movies. He would still kind of do the whole like let me at him thing where he'd like try to fight off a monster, but it definitely was not as constant. And I'm sure the change to make Scrappy like a more helpful character was due to the backlash of his character, but I think the helpful Scrappy is kind of what we got with 13 Ghosts of Scooby-Doo. And I really can't help but feel kind of bad for Scrappy, because though lots of people did hate his character, there were still people like me where they kind of liked the character, and I think what I'm just trying to say is that he did not deserve what he got.
Can I help you?
Oh, easy there, Scooby.
My name is Scrappy, and I've been here longer than all of you. Longer than you, and you!
Daphne, Scooby, and Shaggy are all pretty much the same characters from before, so you know what to expect from them. There's also the inclusion of 2 new ghost characters named Weerd and Bogel. They're like the comedic relief in an already comedic show, but they're pretty much just there as like a running gag where they try to get the chest of demons back, but they always fail. They're really only there for the joke of being stupid, but I just thought I should probably mention them. I should also mention that this show actually has some really bad continuity. There's actually 2 different episodes where Scooby's parents show up, and in each episode, they look completely different. And at first I was just trying to accept that they were different characters, but he kept referring to them as his mom and dad, so I guess they were the same characters. I don't know how it happened, but I feel like that's a mistake that even little kids could easily notice. Another good thing I can say about this show is that while it is still following kind of a formula, there is actually a lot of variety to each episode. We get like an episode where Scooby-Doo goes on a vacation on a ghost ship, or an episode where they get sucked into like a Frankenstein movie. My personal favorite episode is the one where Scooby leaves the team, and then it just cuts to like the real world with the kids watching TV, and the whole world has just fallen apart because Scooby-Doo's no longer on TV. That's what I like to think would actually happen. But it just goes to show that sometimes the dumbest concepts work best for cartoons. But with the show having 13 episodes, it must have meant they caught all 13 ghosts, right? Wrong! The show was cancelled. Thanks, ABC. Yep, supposedly there was only like 2 episodes left, but because the show was canceled, you know, nobody ever saw them, and they're now considered lost episodes. I learned this from the Scooby-Doo wiki, which is a very good source. But the first episode of this show was just kind of dedicated to explaining how the demons got out of their chests. Most episodes had them catch the ghosts, but some episodes are actually like kind of confusing, like you can't really tell whether or not they actually caught the ghost. Like there's a ship captain in an episode who turns out to be a ghost, and we never really find out if he was one of the 13 or if he's just a regular ghost. At this point, let's just assume he was. I mean, that's 1 ghost closer than we're ever gonna get. The 13 Ghosts of Scooby-Doo is a very interesting show, but not very good. If you are gonna watch it for any reason, watch it for Vincent Price. Or if you're a huge Scooby-Doo fan like me. So that's it for now, I guess. I actually had a lot of fun making this video. It's nice to talk about cartoons like once again, and I'm glad that Scooby-Doo gave me that chance. But that's all for now. I have a bunch of other videos on my channel you can check out if you want, but most of them are like for horror movies and stuff, so I don't know. If you like that stuff, go check it out. Thank you for watching, and goodbye.